Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Accelerate You, where we hope to inspire and motivate small business owners and entrepreneurs with low cost and often free resources right here in the area. I am Dr. Gina Messer-Node, the director of the Eastern North Carolina Center for Business and Entrepreneurship, housed here on the beautiful North Carolina Wesleyan University campus. I'm so excited about today's guest. Today we have Mr. Corey Speight in the house with us. And Corey, it's just delightful to have you come back home.
Thank you.
Corey is from Rocky Mount, and we're always excited when he comes back to visit us. Tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what exactly it is you do as an entrepreneur.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, thank you again for having me, and greetings to everyone. I have a couple of aliases, but my government name is Corey P Speight, and you'll soon find out what the P stands for. So I am the creator, curator, and custodian of Pens with Personality by Purnell, and hence the P stands for Purnell, which is my middle name. Pens with Personality by Purnell is a company, a brand, and a lapel pen fashion line designed to bring out more of you or your personality in your wardrobe. We'd like to call it pinning a pinch of personality on your lapel. And you wouldn't think that such a small accessory can make such an impact. But you know, you don't have to take my word for it. If you look at me with what I have on today, with the lapel pin and without, it truly makes a difference. And with Pens with Personality by Purnell, we simply want to be the difference that makes the difference. And just like with the title of the show, Accelerate You, our goal is to accelerate you and accentuate, you know, your personality and your wardrobe. And as long as we're able to make you look good so that you feel great, hopefully you can go through life at your greatest. And that is Pens with Personality by Purnell.
And I really consider, I'm going to call him Corey one minute and Purnell the next. So just know that, folks, because I tend to call him Purnell more than I call him Corey. I really consider Corey not only a CEO of Pens with Personality by Purnell, but he's truly a branding just wizard and social media, guru. So that's what he's here today to talk about. He's going to talk to us about branding, the importance of your brand, and the fact that you can have a distinctive brand, and how that brand isn't the same thing as marketing, but how that very distinctive brand can be uniquely you for free or very low cost, right, in comparison to your competitors. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today, branding. So tell me, we've had marketing experts come on. We know what marketing is. Marketing is getting your product, service, or idea out there to sell it, right? And what form we're going to do that in. But what's a brand? Why should I care as an entrepreneur about my brand?
Great question. The simplest way that I think I can put it, and it's cliche, but it's very true. You are your brand. Your brand is you. Everything about you should be synonymous with your brand, and everything about your brand should be synonymous with the person. Take, for instance, Pens with Personality by Purnell. Again, one of my aliases for the business is Mr. Personality. So my brand oozes, you know, personality, and our whole theme is to, again, get just a pinch more of your personality within your wardrobe, because once you wear that pin and you get compliments and you feel great, it just takes you to the next level. And there's no telling what you're able to accomplish that day when you actually look good and feel great. So you know, you see our display here and my brand plastered everywhere. I do that for two reasons. One, branding is strategic, for one. Also, I like to think it's psychological. The reason why I say that is if you continuously see the logo and the brand, you start to breathe it, believe it, And once it becomes synonymous with greatness, I don't know really too many human beings that don't want to be associated with something great or something good. So when you continuously see the logo and brand, that's one thing. However, the man behind the brand, or woman, that's equally important as well. So when I say you are your brand, if I, walked around with an attitude, or, I wasn't smiling, always negative, that eventually would be associated with my brand. And if you know me, then you definitely wouldn't patronize my business, because that's the way I am. And eventually, if people don't see that before, if that's how you truly are, it will, show itself in your business, and it's downhill from there. So I think it really first begins with, being a great person and just letting all your attributes come out in your brand. And, if it does that, then you're successful. With me, I am very full of life, colorful, and some people say extra. So with my brand, I would say, it invokes the same thing. From the packaging to, on down to the pen. And we just try to create an experience with our branding that is synonymous with pens with personality. So you're not just merely penning on a lapel pen, we're actually creating an experience and hopefully a lifestyle for you.
You mentioned extra, and I want to talk about that a little bit. I know because Corey does visit our campus here quite often and talk with our students about their brand and about their appearance. And even you have said, you might do the extra when you're on TV. You might do your extra when you're at a special event. But if you're going to an interview, your brand might look still consistent, but slightly different. Not quite so extra. So one of the, and I don't know if you can see it from on the TV, but he has a great logo. He has a great Pens with Personality by Purnell. And this logo you're going to see every time you see Corey. It's on his mugs, it's on his business cards. If you purchase an item from him, it's going to be in the box. It's on his shirts, it's on his cups, it's on everything. So and it is consistent. It's on his pens. So it's not like he's got a logo over here for the cups and a logo over here for that. It's a very consistent brand. And I would say that the most successful entrepreneurs I have in terms of name recognition really do have a consistent brand. So once again, getting back to low cost or often free resources, it didn't cost you any more to have the consistent brand, right?
No, ma'am, it didn't. Being in business and an entrepreneur, fortunately, the key to having success is networking. And then, of course, by me being a people person, it just works hand in hand. So I am an avid believer in supporting each other. And a lot of what you see with my branding is the work of other small businesses that I know and that I frequent and that I support. And they don't mind plastering, my logo and brand on everything, and I certainly don't mind. And I just see that as a win-win. Just like with branding, take Michael Jordan, for example. Again, his brand is synonymous with greatness. Gatorade, McDonald's, the same thing. So when you put two greats together, they can become greater. And even though it's on a smaller scale, that's how I try to operate. So everybody wins. If I put myself out there, I'm also putting you out there, because, this is your brand, even though it may have my logo on it. And of course, I'm going to do everything to, take you with me, and, we do go further together. And that's just my motto. But getting back to the cost, if you know the right people and you work your angles, it doesn't take much to look expensive or look luxurious or to get your point across. With the pens, they're very cost efficient or cost effective. With the packaging, I don't spend much for the packaging, the tissue paper, and everything that comes along with it. So again, we just try to create an experience that usually you probably won't get anywhere else. And I would say compare it to your birthday and opening up a birthday gift. And that's the feeling that we want our customers to have each and every time that they purchase a pen and open up a package.
So once again, if I'm hearing you correctly, I'm just not buying a pen or a product from you. You want me to really feel like I've bought an experience,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
I'm getting ready to have an experience with you, which goes with that brand, which goes with that little extra. And you're also saying if you work those collaborations, if you work those networking, that pen or the box or the tissue may really not cost you very much at all, or it may actually be free if you barter. So
right.
that then you can make my gift or my purchase from you more of an experience. Now, I don't know what you have in that box down there, but I have this box right here that I kind of want to show our audience. This is, and I bring this to contrast. You know, when was the last time you bought something? Look, we all buy something from that big box retailer online, right? And we know it comes in a brown box and it has some bubble in it, and that's it, right? It might have a packaging label. But contrast that with, yeah, it's going to come in a brown box because that's what the Postal Service or UPS requires. But once you open that, contrast that you've thrown your item in that cardboardy colored box versus now you've placed it in a box. All right, but before I get to this box may be in another box, or it's at least going to be surrounded in colored tissue. Okay, and the tissue is going to be scented. All right, so I'm gonna have to dig a little bit in my box to find this box, and then I'm going to open this box to reveal my lapel pin. And once again, he so beautifully reminded us who he is. And I think way back when this might have even had scent to it, but I've had this pin for quite a while, and I don't know if you can see it on TV. But, you know, just contrast that with your competition. Are you putting your stuff in that cardboard box with the what do they call it, popcorn, pecans,
Right.
whatever, that styrofoamy stuff that blows all over the yard? Or are you taking a little bit of extra time, you know, cents, this is actually cost cents, and making it a little bit more of an experience so that I know when I order something, a product or a service from you, I'm going to get something a little bit extra, as you said earlier, versus just that kind of ugly cardboard box, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we go. How did you come up with the idea of the lapel pins? We've talked about no more naked lapel pins. No more naked lapels.
That's
That's
right.
it. No more naked lapels is one of your sayings. But how did that come about? How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I'll take it a step further, again, me being extra. Many people may not know, but there's a historical feature to lapel pins. And it probably dates back further, but in my research, it dates back to at least the early 1800s. Lapel pins were a way for the Army to wear and recognize or differentiate what regiment you were in.
Okay.
Slowly over time, it evolved into a style thing. And here we are today. So I think I'm in a unique space because if you look, there's not a lot of women or men, for that matter, that wear lapel pins. However, they're being sprinkled in, ever so often. And so my goal is maybe not to have everyone wear a lapel pin, but to see pretty much what wonders it brings. I often joke with people and say there's power in the lapel pin. And really and truly it does make a difference. So how it all came about, I was actually laid off from a corporate job, and again, in my support of my friends with businesses, I was helping one of my friends out, and then it just dawned on me, what am I going to do with this talent that I have? And lo and behold, I put myself out there, my branding, and 5 years later, I started in 2017. Here I am with a presence online, serving people in North Carolina, all across the United States, and I've even been blessed to have overseas clients, so that have turned into.
I think one of your pins actually even made it to Paris.
It did. So I have customers in Australia and Turkey and Europe, which is great. It's just been a blessing. So again, with branding, if you don't put yourself out there, you'll never know where you can end up. And just be you, because nobody can be you better than you. And if people gravitate towards you, they're definitely going to gravitate towards your brand.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about, because when we started, I told everyone you were a social media just guru, just expert, and you mentioned your online presence, which I think is primarily your presence. You don't have a brick and mortar location.
No, ma'am.
You're strictly online, which allows you to sell and have a presence globally, as you've already indicated, but you do that so beautifully. And I do know, and this was not free, but I think this is a good piece of advice to give our audience. You have spent a fair amount of money with your photography, with your video, that will allow you to use it over and over again.
Yes, ma'am.
But it tells that story. It tells that story of this man with his lapel pins and that little bit of extra. And I was following you on social media long before we ever met. Long before I ever bought a lapel pin, I was watching this guy. I was like, who is this guy? He's a master. I'm loving the photos. And you would even come out here to Wesleyan, and you have done a number of photo shoots here at Wesleyan, and I never had even met him. And so then when we finally did connect, and I think we probably communicated for quite a while online before we actually ever even met. But my rambling has a point, and it is that social media costs nothing but your time. Nothing but your time. Now, if you want to invest in photography and video, yes, that becomes a cost, but even that can be done cheaply, right? We can do things with our smartphones and those types of things as we're starting out, but you have built an entire global brand based off of Facebook and Instagram, and you probably got some TikTok.
Yes.
So talk to our audience about that. Talk to our audience about, you don't need a $10,000 marketing budget to promote your brand.
That is true. I think with anything in life, in order to be successful or to end up becoming that, you have to think it first. So not all billionaires are born with $1 billion. They have to think that they're a billionaire. They have to build and act and maneuver, as well as move their business as if they are billionaires. And I approach mine the same way. People often joke with me when I wear a t-shirt and shorts, and they look at me funny because all they see me wearing is suits, and have that synonymous with being rich or luxurious or whatever the case may be. However, you have to think it and be it first before you can actually become it. So with me, it is true that you have to spend money to make money, but that doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money in order to make money. And I think I do that quite well. With the photography, like I said, I'm extra. And with your brand, this is me that I'm putting out there. So I have to be meticulous and make sure that whatever I put out truly and authentically represents me. So that you know exactly what you're getting when you buy the brand, when you buy the product, when you're buying a piece of my personality that will become part of yours. And in all essence, I just try to have fun with it because that's part of my personality. And so again, in supporting my friends, pretty much all of the photographers that I use, which I think I'm blessed to have probably close to maybe 14 in my stable that
Wow.
I'm able to use at any given moment. Is great. And again, when I put myself out there, and I'm thankful to them that they don't mind putting my mug, in front of the camera as well as my product, it just works well. And again, it's a win-win situation. So I just want my brand to be just that. And with everything that I do, from the boxing to the fragrance that you alluded to. A quick funny story, I had a friend of mine purchase her father some lapel pins for Father's Day. She actually purchased them in May, so she had no idea about the promotion we had going on, buy two, get one free. And so I was fortunate enough to meet her the other day, and I presented her with her package, and she looked at it, and she was smiling, and she saw the tissue paper, and when she took it out, Corey, what is that smell? And I just bust out laughing because, again, hearing things like that, it just makes it worthwhile. Like, by me going the extra mile, being meticulous with what I do and how I do it in the overall presentation, people remember that. And those are the little nuances that help you stand out and keep customers coming back and becoming loyal customers and eventually becoming family.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier about life post-pandemic, so I want to visit that. But before we do that, there's two things I want to pick up on. You said you don't always wear a suit, that you sometimes do wear T-shirts and a short, and it is true. I have seen them in them. But he's not telling you the full truth. Even when you are in your shorts and your T-shirt, you're still selling the brand. You've still got the logo on. You've still got the crazy socks on. There's something with the extra. Now, remember, we're giving you ideas, tips, free tips for your brand. That may not be your brand. Crazy socks may not be your brand. But what we're trying to just stress to you is that it does matter how you look when you go to that big box retailer.
It does.
Because if you're trying to sell a brand, but then you're really not living it, your customers will figure that out.
They will.
And then they will look at you as just, disingenuous, and then that just won't get you anywhere. So I just want to follow up on that. Yes, whether you've got on a hoodie and a sweatshirt, that logo is still on there. There's a little bit of extra on you somewhere. And I also, for our folks who follow the show, you talked about I separated from corporate. How many of our entrepreneurial guests have we had who have said the same thing? I found myself either I hated corporate and I needed to leave, and I had these energies I didn't know what to do with and these talents, or how many times did our folks separate from corporate and they needed an outlet and they decided they were not going to go back to that. So your story is one that resonates, I think, with so many of us that they want to get off that corporate that train and do something differently. So historically, if I heard you correctly, the lapel pin was this was my regimen. I could look at you and say, you're with such and such, and,
Yes,
and then if somebody else had a different one, I could tell that. The lapel pins are just so simple. They have the little snap on the back and they go on, but post-pandemic, we've talked about having to pivot. We've talked about relationship building and how that's so much harder to do online. So what kind of advice do you have for our audience? The world is opening back up. We are mingling more, for lack of a better word. But for 2 solid years there, a lot of folks had to keep their businesses going with just that social media presence. So what kind of tips can you give our audience? I think you said something to me earlier about a consistent and same brand, but that brand needs to evolve.
Exactly.
So how did you evolve?
I think it was quite easy. Like you said, pivot and consistency is a key word, keywords rather. And knowing that you're getting the same Corey, the same Pernell, the same pins with personality, but maybe in a different light, in a different way, but you're still getting me. So as far as the pandemic, many of you that follow me or that know me, I'm doing more videos. The pictures are great, and we'll continue to do those, but now, we're in the area of the Reels with Instagram or with TikTok. So again, evolving with the times. And although I wouldn't consider myself an expert, I think I'm getting better and better with it. And with me, again, just trying to give you an experience. It's not just a plain picture of, the lapel pin. We're trying to create an experience or a lifestyle, and add positivity and personality along with it. So you'll pretty much see a mini production from me, so to speak. You'll get a clips of the pins, maybe me laughing, smiling, having fun, looking great, feeling great, along with some music in the background, to make you feel good, to maybe even dance. And again, all these feelings should come, or we want them to come, when you see the logo, when you see the brand, and hopefully again make you part of the Pins with Personality family. So we're going to keep TikToking and doing things with the Reel, and even finding another way to evolve and give you more of me, with a pinch of personality.
Pinch personality. So for our audience, folks out there who are going, oh no, I'm not doing video. No. What advice do you give them for getting their feet wet? Is it TikTok? Is that the best place to go? Is it best to, or how would you recommend they hop in? Because folks, you're gonna have to. All right, that's all I got to say.
Well, I mean, being in business, especially for yourself, again, you have to put yourself out there. If nobody knows who you are, what your service is, or what your product is, you can't be successful in business. So you definitely have to take risks, you have to take chances, you have to get uncomfortable in order to eventually become comfortable. So whatever you feel you want to try, do that. And don't be afraid to be you, because nobody can be you or do you better than you. I read a quote the other day that said, one of the greatest prisons is to be trapped thinking about what somebody else is thinking about you. Don't worry about that. People are going to be people and think and say what they want to say. My take on that is, give them something great and good to talk and think about.
Give them something to talk about. There you go. We're almost out of time, but final thoughts. Great show, great advice. Be consistent, be you, take some risk, be consistent. And how do we get a hold of you? If we need to get a hold of you, tell us, give me all your how do I find you?
Well, on Facebook, as you can see on the screen, it's Pens with Personality by Pernell. On Instagram, it's at pens.with.personality, and the same on TikTok. On Facebook, I'm also CP Speight, so you can get a hold of my personal account. However you can reach me, please reach out, DM me, and we'll be glad to talk. And it's more than just the brand or the lapel pin. Again, my thing is to help people and make you feel better about yourself so that you can always be at your best.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to ever look at a lapel quite the same way. And if you see a naked one, I want you to think about dressing it up with some little bit of extra, and get Pernell to help you with that. So.
And one more thing, someone just recently had a birthday, so I wanted to say happy belated. And
who could that be? Is that me? Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
know if we have time for this experience, but see, I have beautiful tissue paper, a beautiful smell. It has some glitter. All women love glitter, men. Oh, and then, oh my God, and it smells so wonderful. I wish we had smell-o-vision. Oh, and I double here. Red, white, and blue, and then a beautiful daisy. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
See,
Thank
I don't
you.
go with a naked lapel, so thank you so much. And once again, just to reiterate, and there's his logo at the very bottom of that tissue paper, and I can tell you that sticker, he's buying those in bulk, and it's not costing but pennies.
Exactly.
So once again, how are you delivering your gifts and your products and your services? So thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
It's always great to see you.
Always a pleasure.